All right, so today, September 15th, we are looking at patch 22, is including One Wasteland, Fallout, it's Season 2, Armor Ace and the Power Patrol, the Daily Ops, and the Legendary Perk system. And I will jump into each of those a little bit more in detail as the notes have listed. I was recently kind of thinking how One Wasteland is really going to impact everything we do on in here on out. So let's try to make the most of this. Let's try to see what this scaling can do for multiple players. I hear a lot of people talking about it as a nerf, but it's a rebalancing. So I'll try to keep as neutral of a description of what's going on here so people can get, I don't know, an easier sense of what's going on as opposed to, oh man, I'm walking into a nerf. It's like, well, not necessarily, but we'll get into that further into this. And it's all, even like a word from the devs, if you will. We'll get into that in a sec as well. But with One Wasteland, we now have creatures having the ability to dynamically adjust their levels up or down on the fly to more closely match each player that they encounter. And then it says if multiple players, if they're encountering an enemy, for each person's going to have something simultaneously happen, right? One person's going to have it scale down if they're a lower level, and the higher level have it raise up. So now, again, you can play with whomever if they're high level, low level, whatever the case is, you'll be able to jump in together and have what they're kind of advertising is more of an even play style, if you will. And then it's saying One Wasteland opens up more opportunities to adventure anywhere in Appalachia, whether alone or with your friends. It also smooths out some of the early game bumps for new players. And I think that's actually very important. In past patches, and one of the biggest quality of life patches we saw was even something like, fast traveling doesn't cost as much for a low level, and then they get different rewards that kind of help them a little more. So again, it's good to see how they're treating people entering the game, and again, the whole smoothing out the bumps of early game, and really solidifying somebody's playthrough and not getting frustrated because something happens and they're like, all right, I'm done with this game. It's like, well, you get over the speed bumps, so you're in for some good mid to end game. Also, I think this is very important to add, and then we'll be able to get max level loot in previously lower level regions. If anybody hasn't thought of this yet in our community, I want you guys to think we'll be doing Uranium Fever runs again, not just for spare script. I mean, you should still go in thinking that you're going to get spare script, but if it's going to be matching our levels, we're going to be guaranteed three levels, or sorry, three legendaries at our level as we run those, so keep that in mind. And then moving on to the new season. And so if you've ran the first season, I hope you're not burnt out. I hope you're eager to jump into the next season and what the rewards are for them. And they've also made several adjustments. So they are taking our feedback and they want more feedback, let's just say. And I'll go through a couple of these. For example, one thing that I'm going to lean more towards, I'm not really a fan of, but it doesn't really affect me, nor do I suggest people take advantage of this. Rank ups will be purchasable immediately. Remember, guys, last time we had a 2-week time frame of not being able to purchase anything. So it says, so those who would like to rank up using atoms can join the fight to crush the Red Vipers, starting today. Well, luck crushing your wallet and the Red Vipers. I really don't think anybody needs to spend atoms on the seasonal challenge. I mean, the first one, the seasonal board, the first season, many of us, even those who started late, managed to get the ability to finish with 100 or very close. I don't think you need to spend atoms, and I don't suggest thinking about spending atoms until it's the very last portion of it. Let's say like a couple weeks to go, if you're like, oh, I can't do this, or whatever the case is. But don't even think that, because if you go further into their notes, they actually are giving us even more daily and weekly challenges. So now, and they're also mentioning for us to have more flexibility to progress on our schedule. That's the key point right here. So it's not like we're feeling forced, which I think the feedback of people saying that, whether it's on Twitter, their forums, or Reddit, they see that. So again, our feedback is going to be very important. And if we're getting more challenges, that should make, again, the season kind of easier on us. Maybe we could finish it a little early. We can rep some of the items, way before the end. Um, and then there are the daily ops theme challenges. So there's a couple other things that I'll be mentioning in a sec. And then it says, finally, we made several of last season's rewards, like lunchboxes, the ammo converter, available at, oh, sorry, those two, I guess, available at gold bullion vendors so players who miss them have an opportunity to unlock them. So if you can, I'm not sure if it's like you can just straight up buy lunchboxes for gold bullion. I'm gonna have to check that out. Or if it's like, hey, you missed free lunchboxes, claim specifically those. Um, It says players who missed them, so I guess if you missed specifically that, you're not just like, yeah, give me two lunch boxes for some gold bullion. All right, so that's good. Anybody that missed an opportunity to get those too, especially towards the end, because the end you would have gotten a bunch of lunch boxes. Um, and then the ammo converter was what, like rank 5 or something? All right, so as for the daily ops, put your skills to the test by taking on instanced, randomized, and repeatable encounters called daily ops. So, real quick, this is a culmination of many things, and I'll break that down, um, talking about some of these other updates that they have specifically for this. But this gives me Diablo vibes. This makes me think kind of like running dungeons in Diablo to an extent. And even things that they've added, like the ability to have the enemies you encounter have specific like perks to them, which I'll also mention here. But it says to join a daily op, you would open the map and then you would go to the world activity tracker. And this is all very similar to public groups. I think they phased out public groups and everything in the right way to make it where everybody is kind of familiar with the interface by now, and it shouldn't be too hard. Imagine them dropping the public groups and this all at once, and then people had to kind of figure that out, which is not hard and it's pretty intuitive, but it would still be an uproar of, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing. So that'll be able to start up the daily ops, and you don't have to actually join with a team of 4, even though you could. You can go in alone. So anybody that wants to get a couple of those done in just by themselves, if you're just trying to speed run or get XP on your level, whatever the incentive is, you'll have that. And they're saying each day daily ops will be kind of like cycling out daily, and there's different things between the locations, the factions you're fighting. That'll be all changing. And then there's enemy mutations. Anything from piercing gaze. This mutation is always applied to the enemies at the uplink daily ops mode and gives them greatly enhanced perception of players. So you shouldn't be as easy to evade, let's just say. Volatile enemies will explode on death. That completely speaks to me like Diablo, just killing like the molten guys that wind up exploding. Active camouflage, enemies will be cloaked when not attacking. So you might actually bump into an enemy. You're probably going to be going into these a lot slower than you think, just so you don't ambush or get ambushed. Bump into somebody accidentally. Whoops, sorry. Resilient enemies can only be killed by a melee attack. That I want to check out. That's interesting. Freezing touch. Enemies' attacks will freeze players. Um, that I have no idea how that's going to be. And it says, since you'll be facing constant combat and deadly threats during your operations, we've reduced the condition damage taken by your weapons and armor by 50% while in daily ops. And I think that's really important because it's like as your stuff's going to break because you're using a lot of it all at once. That's good to know. Also, consider that they have the ability to instance things and change stats on the fly, which means they could also make certain, in-game events that could give us different bonuses just because they have the ability to, move that slider back and forth as they wish. That's a really good way to even show us something like that. Lower condition while you're in there. Um, and then it's also mentioning something similar to a colossal problem with the ammo. Again, it's kind of a slider, right? So now you're able to get a bunch of ammo back, which is very fair. I hope they don't nerf the amount of ammo you get, because when you do Earl runs, it seems like you were getting a bunch of rounds. Now, with the rebalancing, I will say that you're probably going to use some more ammo, so I do hope that'll even out what you pick up and what you use. I would actually love to see less condition boss specifically during Earl runs, Queen runs. Why not? Why not make these runs even more of an incentive? But I guess that might be too easy. So going back to this, and it says you can repeat daily ops as often as you like. So this is very familiar in terms of if you remember the vault raids, and even though the vault raid was removed, a lot of this seems like it's derived from feedback of us running those vaults. And even like the different tiers and the rewards they talk about, you finish in 8 minutes or less, 12 minutes or less, 16 minutes or less. Um, so I'm really curious to know how many times we can run that and what's achievable. Anything from solo to group play. Again, it's going to make me even think of something like Diablo. When you will running solo be one difficulty, but when you run with three others, do the minions of Appalachia grow stronger? You know, like what's the risk reward, and is it possible to get 8 minutes or less while doing something solo? I'm very curious, and I'll be trying to see exactly what that means. I'm not going to go full sweat on 8 minutes or less, especially that I haven't done any of these. I've only seen minimal PTS kind of content on that, but then you'll also be able to get a reward, or sorry, not a reward, but a report of your rewards, not XP and currencies, but throughout this you'll be able to see, I guess, what you're actually picking up. So that's good. This operation report, I do hope translates into maybe even more things. So like the dot 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 that we see at the end of an encrypted event, and we hope for a fixer plan. Could it be easier to bring something like the operation report to an event like that so it's actually easier for us to see those? I don't know, just food for thought on that. And moving on to the legendary perks. Legendary perks are new high-level perk cards for players who have reached level 50 plus, which will help you add even more power and build diversity to your characters. I'm very excited for this. I've seen a good amount of it. I'm very, very grateful for those that run the PTS and then give feedback because these were delayed. We would have gotten these months ago. Well, let's just say a month ago. Let's not say months ago. Let's say that if we got this more when it was intended to originally drop, even things like Earl. I'm very grateful for the amount of time and effort people are putting in as to for actually putting out these things, whether it's like in a private setting or now, they're pushing the public kind of test realm, if you will. And this all, again, is reminding me of how Diablo and Blizzard runs things with like, their game and how they developed their game over time. I don't know if there's actually a Diablo, say, test realm anymore, maybe? In any case, I'm going off track here. Um, I'm very grateful for these kind of implementations to add. They're saying, diversity to your characters and whatnot. I think this is going to work really well. I think it's not necessarily the paragon that you would get from Diablo, but it's gonna, make up for what do you do to make your character even stronger after a certain point. And they also kind of are going to be retroactively rewarding you for whatever you have. You'll be getting these legendary perk slots after level 50. You get one at 75, 100, 150. Let's say those things. So it goes up to 6 slots in total. And they're mentioning if you have high level characters, like I said, you'll be retroactively getting those. So my character that's over 400, my character that's over 300, they'll both be getting the 6 slots in total to start off. And then my other characters that I think are only, let's say, in between 150 and 200, I'll have a couple of those slots unlocked. And I'm going to get into an advantage that I'll have with those characters in just a sec. And then also we need to keep an eye on this. One legendary perk card can be equipped to each slot, and you can unequip them at any time in exchange for one perk coin. So I'm going to try to avoid spending perk coins for as long as I can, because that's one of those things where if you change your build too much or if you put too much into a certain perk, I imagine it being harder for you to have that flexibility, similar to swapping out points if you have to keep constantly respecking or moving, say, your strength to your endurance or your endurance to agility, whatever you like respec your character, you wind up using so many like skill points or level up points. I wonder if this is going to be similar. So I'm going to try to not spend perk coins as quickly as I get them. And then they break down how you get your perk coins, and you take these unused normal perk cards, and then you can get so many points per rank. And they mention that if you Scrap a rank 3 perk card, it'll award 3 perk coins. So we're going to try to go through whatever duplicates or cards that I don't care about, I'll try to scrap. And I think this is interesting because there's like an underlayer to this that I don't think people understand that at some point, if you just keep leveling up and you have a bunch of cards on you, it's one, it's almost like essentially more laggy, just more stuff going on. And then two, there's just more clutter on your screen. Months back, if I would even dare, I say maybe a year plus ago, um, there's been discussions, let's say, of loadouts, already a long time ago. But even something like I mentioned, let's say, at this point, I don't know how far back it was. I mentioned something like, could we just flip over cards? Could we just like only have the cards we care about to the sides? Now I know loadouts is gonna be coming, but like, was there an easier way to just move cards out of sight, out of mind kind of deal? And this, to an extent, could be that, or at least you can look at it like that. It's like if you don't really care about that per card, why would you keep it? You're just gonna rank it up and then scrap it. And then something important to think about, and this is what I was mentioning before, while legendary perk slots you've unlocked are account wide, so I basically have 6 perk slots ready on all my characters, if that's the way I'm reading this, if that's accurate, because I've already gotten one character to 300 plus. But they also mention how upgrades are separate for each of your characters. So, for example, one of my characters I spoke about getting the legendary like ammo perk. I'll rank that up all the way on one character, and then I will make a bunch of ammo on only that character, and then I will not purchase that, let's say, on my other characters, because that'd be a waste of perk coins if I can just have it there. So I'll do it that way. And I think it's actually kind of like a gift, if you will. I think this is an awesome intro to like almost welcome to endgame, if you will. And they say to help give your perk coin collection a boost, we've added a become legendary challenge, and then that challenge, once you hit level 50, you will get 50 perk coins. And everybody that's over level 50 will be getting this on login. If you don't, I would have, let's say, suggested logging out, logging back in, and then it'll give it to you. I'll make sure that my character has it upon login as well. But starting off with 50, I mean, you can start to do something if you're just recently hitting 50. Anybody that's, a higher level, you have a couple hundred levels, or even let's say you're somebody that's 1,000 plus level, you should have more than enough to start flexibly moving around legendary perks. So, but I wouldn't spend too quickly. I would try to say hoard your perk coins and see what you can get as more of a solidified plan as opposed to, ooh, this looks shiny. All right, so moving on to design updates. Fast travel is now free to Foundation and Crater. I think that's awesome. I would also say why not have it even free to other larger, maybe more active portions of the map? Why not like White Springs? Why not just straight up White Springs? I wouldn't say the station because then it would be like, why don't you just make all the stations free to fast travel to? Which I guess I'm not opposed to, but not what I'm suggesting. Um, I don't know. Quality of life stuff. I like it. Base of operations. Bonus damage. Now here we go with the rebalancing of sorts, the nerf of sorts. You change the way damage bonuses are calculated, so now they apply additively instead of multiplicatively. Please note, while stacking damage bonuses will now have a smaller overall effect on your damage output than before, these changes will make the resulting damage much more predictable and allow for future improvements. This is very important for the health of the game going forward. It will also create better opportunities for us to make smarter and more effective balance changes. So now it's like again the whole idea of if it's additive instead of multiplicative, it's like me and Diablo. I went from being fearful of a hardcore seasonal character, but now we're like hungering for even higher torment levels while we're over here playing hardcore characters because we start to build our character and we're like, you know what, this combined with this, okay, so it's 400% times 400% times at some point you're like, okay, I do ridiculous damage. You go from like saying, wow, I can do 100,000 damage to wow, I can do 10 billion on a crit. Now that's Diablo speak. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's more, what people have been telling me as, oh man, my bloodied, Deathclaw did almost 3k damage. It did 2.5k damage, and now it's doing, much less. So it's That's because now it's additive. But the next bullet point that we have here is very important. I want everybody, please, please do not ignore this. It says we are still evaluating feedback we gathered on these changes from the PTS, but we also welcome your thoughts on how different weapons and different builds feel after today's update so that we can make additional adjustments in the future. Please do me a favor. If anybody is active on Reddit, their forums, or somewhere that they'll be able to see it, Twitter, or, I would say might not be the most effective way. You're limited in characters. But if you have the ability to actually give feedback, and I have actually stayed away from, let's say, Reddit for today and updates on this until let me experience the content for myself and then see what people are saying tomorrow. Um, I can imagine people up in arms. They're taking the pitchforks out, saying, "Oh man, nerf this, nerf that. Oh my, I'm so mad." Um, the best thing you could do is say something like, you go to a post and be like, "Hi, I'm a bloody build. After this today, I don't feel that the risk to reward is even. My character is not doing as much DPS, and I understand this is a rebalancing, but I don't feel that this build is even worth it anymore because of how much less I'm doing." Let's just say that's the example, right? Let's just say that's maybe a complaint somebody might have. If you can phrase that way, and you don't even like, I would say the next thing to do is take it a step further and be like, rebalancing and maybe buffing these bloody things just a little more, just to throw that out there. Or somebody that's like, "Oh yeah, I used to use Furious to ramp up the DPS after, I've hit a target successfully so many times, but now after today's update, I'm noticing that Furious blah blah blah." Like specifically telling, you know, like them, even they'll get to your post at some point, even if they don't seem to like always catch what people say online. They catch a lot of it, and I would almost dare I say, they catch mostly all of it. Um, because they say that multiple times. We take the good, the bad, and the ugly in terms of feedback, and they try to work with us. They're, you know, evolving this game and developing this game with us. And I think, successful games that grow with the community, let's even look at something like Warframe, are kind of a push and pull, like back and forth of the community and the feedback that they're given. I have yet to really see this for myself. I have a lot of different weapons and builds that I can mess with. If I don't feel something's worth it, I'll fall back on something else. And I've been going into this open-mindedness of, oh, there's something's coming on, or something's coming. Whether it's a nerf or something, let me see what my own new meta is going to be. Am I going to go full junkies instead of bloodied? I don't know. After today's patch, I guess I'll see. But again, this is all food for thought. Please, again, like I said, don't ignore them specifically saying that we're evaluating feedback and they want our feedback. I, unfortunately, I guess, should start maybe being more, or it's unfortunate I don't use their forums. I use, let's say, more of Reddit. Even that, I'm more of a reader than somebody that's putting input. My input's here. My input is talking to my community, seeing what they say, and then I talk to other people in like their own communities, and it's kind of a push and pull, and it's always an open discussion that we have. But I personally have yet to really put the time to write an essay. I don't like this because this. Okay, thank you. Goodbye, Bethesda. But in any case, all right, moving on to the last so many so we can jump into this content. We're like halfway there. And I will actually be jumping over a couple things. I'll mention that definitely check the patch notes. I'm not covering everything. As much as I'm breaking down all this content, this is a highlight of as many things that I can see affecting not only myself, people in my community, things that they've told me, complaints that I've seen online, and then anything that's kind of more minor. Like I said, just check it out on your own time, skim through it, going over most of this. Um, I mean, things like Alien Blaster, damage increased by 30%. So as an example, I probably wouldn't have read that. But somebody out there is like, hell yeah, I'm going to use my Alien Blaster more often. So again, I might be skipping out a couple things, and I try not to leave out too many things. But as for updates in items and design, legendary weapons, the Assassin's legendary attribute now applies its bonus damage to human NPCs. So now that we're going to be doing these daily ops, we'll have the Blood Eagles that will be facing uh, more specifically, as opposed to like, oh man, let me make sure I have an assassin's weapon. So anytime I bump into somebody, out in the world, like out in the world, I don't think assassin's that great, unless you're a PvP build. Then I would have to find out on that. But when it comes to like this now affecting human NPCs, that's great. I feel like assassins will have a much better use going into these daily ops as opposed to being something that wasn't really useful more than just PvP scenarios. But now again, another update for Secret Service armor. Plans for light and ultralight limb mods for Secret Service armor have been added. They are now purchasable from Regs and Vault 79. And then I have a little bit of a question on this one. The shish kebab now deals fire damage instead of energy damage. I really hope this doesn't affect friendly fire. Like me going into Radiation Rumble or even Project Paradise with my shish kebab, making sure that our friendlies are kept up in health. I hope that doesn't affect that. Shouldn't, but I'll test that out. Perks updates between Modern Renegade and Tank Killer. Now for UI, this is actually pretty important going forward in how they're observing how we use certain things. For public teams, they renamed building and they switched that to casual, and then they removed casual. And then they've added in its place daily ops that has the daily ops bonus. And they're saying we did this in part because it's not possible to build in public teams. So that, again, that's like kind of false advertisement. You join a building team, but it's not like you're building together. And the way they wanted people to use casual, that's how people are using building and kind of jumping in together. Like, hey, we might be doing our own thing, not together, but like we're getting a bonus together. We're gonna probably be jumping in, and you're putting these scenarios where you put people in a sandbox and you just kind of put them a little closer together. You make for better encounters. Um, and again, now they're saying that we should find this a little more useful after today's update. For world updates, I think this is important as well because this came from feedback, a lot of feedback here. Vault 94 and Vault 51. Vault 94 is now accessible during World Exploration Adventure Mode and Private World, so I know people right away were like, okay, if that's not going to be a thing, can we please have the ability to, explore it at least? And then Vault 51, we've added a new no camp zone, so you're not going to be able to build there, and they're prepping for future content, so keep your eyes peeled for what they do over there. Now, bug fixes. There are some bug fixes, but I think the very important one here, at least for some of the issues that we ran into, the loot bags. It says fixed an issue with the Vault-Tec duffel bag model that made it difficult to interact with it. Yeah, I think we just need a giant, I don't even know, a giant like medicine ball or something like that. So when somebody loots, you have no way to miss it. But that's good. That again, I think came from player feedback. Moving on to camp and workshops, there's a bunch of these, and I do encourage you guys to check out the patch notes. But a few of them that I think are kind of key to point out. Camp. Fixed an issue that could prevent fast travel to another player's camp if the camp owner had the future tech camp skin equipped. I've heard people complain about this, so obviously fixing that sounds great. There's a few exploits. Items can no longer be stacked on objects that are in disrepair. I'm not sure if that's like a merging of items or what. I would say there's not a whole lot of technical camp building stuff that I'm familiar with, so I'm not sure how that's actually affecting people. I just imagine that's like fixing clipping. I don't know. Another exploit, fix an exploit allowing players to build workshop ammunition factories in their camps. Oh man, giant facepalm, guys. Seeing that shit out in public worlds is like, what are you doing, guy? Please note, as a result of this fix, camps and blueprints that contain a workshop ammo factory are now invalid and can no longer be placed. Players will also receive a notification that their camp or blueprint cannot be placed if it contains a workshop ammo factory. Players will also receive a notification if they had more than one workshop ammo factory that they would be banned indefinitely. No, I wish. Anybody out there that's like, boo, Bethesda, you did this? Get out of here. What are you doing? Like, do you not know what you're doing? In any case, let's not rant on what we've seen, because, like, it's one thing, it's like if somebody does that and then they do it, like, they build it under the map and then they hide what they're doing. It's another thing for a bunch of people just loosely like, yeah, I have a dozen ammo converters at my camp. Come shop at my camp. There's been multiple camps that I've just turned away that had good stuff because they had so many things. And I know there's a few people in the community that became conflicted. I know not everybody chose the same as I did to walk away, but I want nothing to do with that. And then the last exploit that I'm seeing here, address the camp budget exploit related to generators. I have no idea. Maybe there was a way to place a generator, destroy it, get more. I have no idea. I'm always finding out about these exploits after the fact. And then I guess the last one, the rainwater collector no longer becomes invisible when destroyed. I thought that was kind of like funny at first, but I'm like, oh, that sucks. If your stuff breaks, you wouldn't even know that it's broken because there's nothing hearing. I don't know. There's some challenges that there's the daily scrapping fertilizer now correctly progresses the collect fertilizer sub challenge for the gather building supplies daily challenge. I don't think I ever noticed the issue with that though. Death and respawn. So they talk about ash and goo piles, but then for respawn itself, they said implemented a fix to reduce cases where players could become unable to respawn after being killed during an event or an interior. Going down to, there's actually a pretty lengthy list when it comes to items and some of these things that I'm skipping over, so I can't encourage you guys more to go check this out, but for an exploit, addressed an exploit in which players could intentionally double the stat bonus offered by unyielding armors. I don't know how to do this. I have no idea. I've never run into this. I've never checked my special midstream and then had some crazy like 66, fucking strength or something like that. I got no idea. Um, Fireworks, equipping fireworks no longer causes players to reload much faster than intended. I never tried this firsthand. I saw like a video, like I guess as soon as it became a thing, cycle where somebody was reloading an LMG and it reloaded in like less than a second, I would say, as opposed to its normal like 15-minute waiting time. Gatling gun. The erroneous crafting item unlock notifications no longer appear when scrapping Gatling guns. I had no idea that was a glitch. I've been breaking down Gatling guns thinking that I'm unlocking stuff. Meanwhile, it's the same, like, I don't know, like 5 out of 6 that I've been sitting on. I'm like, yeah, I got 5. I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't. No, never mind. So that's fixed. An important one also for loot. Enemies that drop contextual ammo can now correctly drop arrows, crossbow bolts, 38 rounds, 40 mil grenade rounds, ultrasight plasma cartridges, ultrasight 2 mil, and then it says instead of random ammo when players kill them with appropriate weapons. So like we're gonna actually get back some of what we're spending. I'm very happy with that. A couple more that they go over. Up and down to mutations, and I didn't really understand the first one. Players can now correctly acquire more than one mutation in a given play session. Guys, I'm not gonna lie. Out of all my characters, even like my most recent level 50, my mule that has a bunch of weapons on it. As soon as that thing hit like 32, let's just say, and I had search genes rank 2, I just downed like 10 different serums, and I had not an issue. I know that was a while ago. I don't know if this is a recent bug. I've never heard anybody having issues with that. I don't think. Speed Demon. Fix an issue that reduced stim-pack healing while under the effects of Speed Demon mutation. I have no idea if I ran into that. Being bloodied, I'm basically one hit as it is, so I have no idea if that was affecting me. Down to NPCs, and I'm upset that I'm just finding out about this now. It says critters. Critters now cap at level 5 and can no longer spawn as a legendary. I had no idea. I've never seen a legendary 3-star squirrel, nor would I dare to kill it. I would try my best to tame it and then guard it with my life indefinitely. I don't even know. Also for Ohio River Adventures, fish bones will no longer flee from nearby hostiles. That whole place seems to have just weirdness. When you go there and you try to talk to people, they like, it seems like they're just running around for just randomness. Performance and stability, I love seeing this one. They talk about a lot of stuff here between client stability. They even mentioned Xbox One players signing out of their profiles should have some increased client stability. This is an important one. Performance. Fix an issue with the Tesla rifle that could result in poor frame rates for nearby players. So anybody running Earl or Rad Rumble that has experienced any craziness from that, you'll be glad to hear that. And they talk about there's multiple server stability, server performance, things related to vending machines, nuclear winter, even normal gameplay that they've addressed. So that's great. Going down to perks. I'm not really sure about this one. For Class Freak, fix an issue that caused some mutations to not interact correctly with the Class Freak perk card. I'm really not sure what that means. Yeah, I'll have to look into that one. That one has me stumped. Concentrated Fire, rank 3 of Concentrated Fire perk no longer causes the chance to hit in VATS to suddenly jump to 95% when using an automatic weapon. So now it's going to ramp up more so, as opposed to instant aim. And then there are multiple quests and events, but the one that I'm also over here scratching my head. Vital Equipment. Fixed an issue in which a player could complete vital equipment multiple times per day if they already had one of the quest items in their inventory. That to me sounds like somebody found the thief, killed them, but it wasn't theirs. It was somebody random in the world, and then took the item, ran, and then turned it in. And maybe this is to like avoid somebody that knows where those things spawn, and then you just camp that spot, like kind of deal. I'm really not sure. Maybe that was being exploited that way. I got no idea. Sound has a couple things. UI. All right, so UI has multiple things. It between control updates, damage numbers for grenades, let's say item transfer things, notifications, but definitely check out the patch notes for the specifics. A couple things that I wanted to highlight as we wrap up here. World is the last category, and we really do end with a bang here. General, and this one affects me directly. Following locations can now be accessed at all times, and attempting to enter them no longer sometimes displays a location available at a later date error. They talk about Arctos Pharma, Ada Psi House, the Pie House, the Burrows, the Nuke. It says the Nukashine. Is that like Bib's place? The Nukashine? I don't even know what that is. Van Low Taxidermy. So, for the Burrows, I've had that. I know a few people in my community that have had that issue. And at first I was like, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at. And actually, I think I had Arctos Pharma only once, maybe a few weeks back, pop up with that. So that's good. And this is the one that really ended with a bang here. Fort Defiance. The no camp zone at Fort Defiance has been expanded to include the road in front of Allegheny Asylum to resolve an exploit affecting enemy spawns during the Lion in the Sand event. So guys, tents are not going to make Scorched spawn in a huddle and all that. What I'm going to say is I want people to take this, and if you can, if you are active on those, websites that they have their eyes on, discuss a way that we can get this back without just saying, I'm mad that I can no longer exploit, the tent and forcing things to spawn. I will, 100% admit that when it first was starting to cycle, I went to Line in the Sand, and then I did it a couple times, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like we can all go over here, we can all use Teslas, we can run this as a community, and then there was straight up a dozen, like people that would run this, and it was like, oh, this is awesome. This is how you civilly do this. Well, unfortunately, it's, you know, an exploit at the end of the day. And not only is it an exploit, I guess like you could have maybe built your camp there. One of the issues is like you have to have like let's say Fallout first to move your tent. So it's like there's layers of things that I didn't really I guess agree with. Um, what I do want is something similar to that popping up where even if there's a bunch of OP people, just imagine a gate opening up and then just a bunch of creatures all spawning at once, and then people collectively know that they're going to spawn during an event just for an opportunity for people to ramp up a bunch of XP, civilly do it, and then it's one of those things where it's like if you remove something from the game, how can you re-implement it? As I was mentioning before with, the Vault Raid, that was removed from the game. But that was removed from the game because of various feedback, not enough people running things and trying to do that, and they just did, the expectations didn't, meet the way they wanted it to be. So or sorry, their expectations didn't meet what it turned out to be. So then here comes now we have daily ops. Daily ops is Vault Raid reskinned, if you will, with different challenges in different locations. And on top of that, they took our feedback of more like, we want more varied things to be like, okay, how about, these instances that keep changing and it's like a Diablo dungeon raid where, it's never the same raid per se. You're going to see different enemies. The enemies will even have a chance of being a legendary in a different way or explode on kill. So, I mean, I think it's a good way to actually end these patch notes because I know a lot of people are kind of like, damn, this is gone. I was having a lot of fun here. I even know that something popped up. It was like a suggested Reddit post. Somebody was like, to the person who, ratted out this event, kind of screw you kind of deal. Um, it's one of those things where you have to take that and really amplify what you want. You can't just be like, damn, I'm mad that I don't get as much XP. You gotta be like, no, all right, it's gone, but how can we leave feedback so in future content they add something like that back in, maybe similar to how they did the Vault Raid. That is today's patch notes. Going to be jumping into the game here shortly, but I'm excited. Again, going back to the highlights, One Wasteland is going to impact us here forward. Season 2 is here for the next 10 weeks, so let's not try to burn ourselves out. Please, please, guys. No burn yourself out. Do it calm and collectively, not, oh man, I need to log in, and as soon as I finish my last challenge, I can't wait to get off the game. Daily Ops, I cannot wait to jump in with the community. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I do want to test some of that also solo to see if difficulty and, kind of changes. And then for legendary perks, again, I'm very excited to try out kind of a new way to buff my build, or again, they advertise the diversity of your build and what you can build as you enter mid game, as you are kind of end game refining your builds again. But that's it. Let's check this out, and hopefully One Wasteland treats everyone fairly. All right, take it easy, guys.